Welcome to the Know, I'm Turney.
I'm Jenkins.
With people mass hating on Call of Duty Infinite Warfare's Spacebound trailer, hopes are at an all-time high for Battlefield 1's return to the past.
But judging by DICE and EA's monetization plans for Battlefield 1, the game's setting might not be the only thing that's stuck in the past.
They are. Apparently, the company plans on sticking to the tried and true map pack formula rather than moving on to the format that basically every other online shooter has adopted, which is free content funded by cosmetic microtransactions.
All about them loot boxes. But don't worry, the game will also have microtransactions. It's the best of both worlds, right?
It's the worst
right?
of both also. It's the best of times, it's the worst of times. Well, nobody should be surprised that microtransactions would be a part of any modern game, much less an EA game, a wink. The inclusion of map packs is something that many players were hoping to avoid.
So now some people are surprised, unhappy that Battlefield 1 is sticking to the same old formula. It was supposed to be the chosen one, right? Others, though, are saying, relax, nothing's changing, it's all gonna be fine. Indeed, nothing is changing.
I bet EA is saying that. In an investor call last week, EA CEO Andrew Wilson spoke about the company's hopes to keep reaching into your pocket in the long term, saying, given that in Battlefield 1 you will see both macro monetization opportunities from us like maps and large-scale content, as well as micro monetization opportunities, smaller increments of gameplay.
His run-on sentence then goes on to say, and then over time what you will see from us is elements of gameplay that allow gamers to engage and drive and extend and enhance their experience much the way people do with FIFA Ultimate Team or Madden Ultimate Team today. Oh, buzzwords! So many buzzwords.
Enhance.
It's synergy!
Yeah, exactly. So basically, map packs, small content, long-term content, every which way they can get right into your pants to get into that wallet, they're gonna do it.
But don't count on the reach around.
They won't.
It's important to note that the CEO here isn't saying specifically that the content they're charging for would only include maps, but it does indicate that whenever maps come, they're not gonna be free. You're just thinking about reach arounds now, aren't you?
You said come. All right. You're thinking about reach arounds and you said when maps come. I'm sorry. Paying for maps used to be the standard for multiplayer shooters just a few short years ago, but things have drastically changed for the better almost across the board. So it's just a little bit unfortunate that EA doesn't seem interested in changing up the formula the way a number of other multiplayer shooters have in the past.
Yeah, in general, charging for maps is, well, a relic is maybe a strong word because it was like 2 years ago.
That's so
but
long.
We exist online and 2 years kind of is a long time ago. So it's a relic from when game companies didn't really know how to handle post-launch content quite as well. More often than not, you end up with a fractured player base, which doesn't always work out for either group, whether they bought the map packs or not, because you have a smaller pool of players to play against.
Yes, giving part of your audience access to certain maps while the other part doesn't, it tends to create two separate ecosystems.
That both need to be supported.
Yeah, that aren't very strong. Anyone that's been away from a multiplayer game for a while and then decides to jump back in only to find that they can't join any servers or playlists has completely experienced this firsthand.
Even DICE has said that they don't like the practice in comments dating as far back as 2010, which if you think 2 years ago was a relic, 6 years ago is like the before time. The developers said they'd never charge for maps because they wanted to be sure their players kept playing together.
And then they decided to play against themselves by just doing something else.
Yeah, well, it's, money. For the most part, developers have moved away from the format on the whole. However, the most recent DICE games, Battlefield 4 and Battlefront, still kind of clung to that DLC structure that split the audiences of both games. Hardline was actually developed by Visceral, so that's why it's not part of this conversation quite as much, although with the EA publishing, worth mentioning.
Rather than calling them map packs, those games were promoted as having content packs, which are so different. They're basically just map packs, but with a few guns, gadgets, and objectives thrown right in, and apparently crazy megalodon giant shark Easter eggs.
Why wouldn't you want that? However, at the tail end of the DLC packs for Battlefield 4, DICE eventually moved to releasing the maps for free. When you consider that Battlefront tried to walk the line with some paid season pass content and lots of free content, many fans were hoping that Battlefield 1 might just get there and ditch the paid maps altogether.
A number of other multiplayer games have already kissed paid map packs goodbye, like Rainbow Six, Halo 5, and Overwatch. All of those rely on more free content, and then everyone gets like maps and weapons, but then the paid content comes in the form of other, more cosmetic types of loot.
Yeah, you gotta thank the whales. And really, it's a win-win for everybody. Keep players around with, yeah, Caden, I called you a whale. That's right, I did. I know how much you spend on those loot boxes, and he has no regrets. Really, that system is a win-win for everybody. You keep players around with free stuff rather than paid stuff, and then in the meantime, the microtransactions can be used to fund more content for the entire player base. I mean, it's worked more than well enough for GTA Online, and now everybody's doing it.
The one other holdout, of course, is Call of Duty, but mostly just because they can. Hate it all you want, but it's still a proven model that generates money, so they're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that it only took a few years for microtransactions to become so commonplace that we basically expect them in every game at this point. But it doesn't have to be implemented in a way that's bad for players. It can actually work out great.
Yeah, and a number of online multiplayer titles have already figured out how to do this in a better way. EA, so if Overwatch is doing something at this point, you just do it.
Just pay attention.
Just do that.
You can even learn from your own games. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 1 and 2 delivered free updates to the entire community, so there's no reason Battlefield 1 can't have those either.
But as a counterpoint to all those worried this might be totally bad news for the future direction of the game, it certainly hasn't kept players around in Battlefront. It is certainly worth pointing out, again, that it means nothing has changed for the franchise.
Yeah, this is just more the Battlefield that you love and the Battlefront, because they're both battles. Anyway, those of you who love it will probably still love it. Those of you who don't, well, you probably still won't. This is Battlefield after all, but it would have been nice for them to update the way they treat post-launch content, especially given the opportunity they have with everyone turning on Call of Duty this year.
This was your moment. You had the high ground, Anakin. Of course, it could be worse. Battlefield 1 could be in the same sad shape as Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. In the face of bad pre-order numbers, they've gone so far as to change their game's box art to look less sci-fi.
So, okay, there's that at least. Well, but what do you guys think of Battlefield 1 sticking to paid content post-release? Nothing to worry about? You happy to do that system? Or does it give you a little bit of pause? Let us know in the comments.
For future updates on Battlefield 1, like this video, subscribe to it now.
We'll keep you on a Call of Duty cover art watch.
And also Jon Snow's gonna be in it. What?
Yeah, that's a weird choice.
I love it.
I mean, he's very broody, so it could work out.
Exactly. He's like a spaceman.